Hey, what's up everyone? It's Dan with Main Deck, and we are bringing you another Grand Archive video today. Today is actually just going to be a news update video. Now, we haven't done one of these for Grand Archive in quite a while because frankly, things just kind of went into silence as the team was working on the project. But this is today, it's March 10th as I'm recording this, and we're hoping to get this up this very night. This is the most news we've had about the project in a long time, and it's seriously like a crazy amount of news. So I read all this, I saw this, I was looking at all this stuff, and I thought I should just really do a video and make sure that people out there who are like kind of on the fringe, looking at the project from the outside, get to see what the update's all about and all the things that are going on. Because and you know, if you guys watched the previous videos, you know that in my opinion, this is a project that you should be looking at. This is a card game that is definitely worth looking at. And today's updates really just showed to me that they are really taking the steps that I think are most important to make this TCG successful. So guys, let's just jump right in. We got a few things to look at here, and I'm probably, like always, going to take way longer than I think I'm going to. So we are going to be jumping right in and looking at, there were two updates on Kickstarter today. The first update, update number 17 here, this is one that is all about the starter decks being delayed. So let's go ahead, and we're just going to read some of this content here for you so you can get a description for what's going on. So they start talking about how they've been taking a lot of feedback here, and they're acting on it. So the following is an update basically based on, as they say here, the timeline that they produced, that they discussed with multiple vendors and distributors, and they're reacting on the feedback that they got. These vendors and distributors had voiced their concerns regarding a significant delay between the starter deck release and the booster box release, weakening the overall launch of Grand Archive. In addition, they expressed that the efficiency of one wave versus two waves of products wasn't optimal, etc. And the result of this is Weebs of the Shore has decided to delay the release of the starter decks. Now, if you weren't paying too much attention, the starter decks were supposed to come out, they said April actually, and now they're delaying it to be the same time as the booster set releases, which we still expect to be Q3 of 2022. In addition, anything that was going to release alongside those, metal cards, promo cards, playmats, deck boxes, are all going to release then as well. To compensate for this, they are upgrading the amount of these prelude packs that come in the starter decks from 2 to 4 for everybody who kickstarted. So you're getting twice as many of these prelude packs, and we'll talk in just a moment about what those are. Honestly, in my opinion, I'm really happy they're doing that, but they didn't even need to, because, you know, when you think about this, I don't know what your take is on this, but here's mine. When you think about this, having these starter decks out and sent to everybody and just kind of, you know, getting them in people's hands, they start to play with them. They're going to be the same as the print and play decks we've been playing with for a while. And, you know, honestly, I haven't touched those in a while. I played them for a bit. We played a whole bunch of games. We're getting really used to the system. But then I thought, okay, like I just want the full experience now, right? Like I can't just keep playing these same starter decks over and over again. I'm a TCG guy. I want to dig in. I want to start deck building. I want to see all the cool combos, and I want to have a lot more variance to my gameplay. And I think they're spot on here in doing this, because if those starter decks were to come out in April and then people had a lag of up to like 6 months before they can get their hands on the actual booster sets, I think a lot of people would just lose interest and kind of forget about things. And the thing that's true, you know, everywhere in life, but especially here, is you have one chance to make a first impression. And now the first impression that this company made with their Kickstarter on a lot of people was a very good one, but they have to make a good first impression when they hit retail as well. And having a fully fledged, fully decked out product with booster packs and their playmats and their deck boxes and their sleeves, which we'll look at in a second too, all this cool stuff right at launch, is going to make a much, much stronger impression on everybody who's picking this up and looking at it and picking this up at retail. So I, for one, am a huge fan of this product delay, actually. And then the other side of things is that they mentioned in the other update here too that they're really like honing in on their sample product foiling and everything, and making sure that these cards match up perfectly between the starter deck print and the booster set print, and that these foils and everything that they're putting out are top quality. So as always, I'd rather have something be delayed than come out early and be worse quality. And in this case, I think the delay is just a really good idea all around. But it's something to be aware of if you were waiting for this game to check it out, or if you were just kind of patiently waiting for your shipment after you backed it. You're going to be waiting a little bit longer to get that. But the good news is that everything's going to be here at once, and I think it's going to really help the game in the long term. So let's move on to the other update and talk about that now. The other update, this is absolutely massive, guys. This update is crazy. There is so much to talk about. I'm only going to hit a few things really briefly here because you can go ahead and read through this on your own. All this update is on, this whole update's on their Kickstarter, free for anyone to look at. But a few things to note. First of all, they've just made some kind of changes, adjustments, and just revealed some details about what their plans are to start promoting the game going forward. And every game that's done well in recent years has started by launching a demo deck to people. And thankfully, they have a plan right here for a 34 card size demo deck, which is just going to be featuring normal element cards only, just to make it easy and make the demo decks kind of play fairly against each other and everything. And they're going to be printing these demo decks and shipping them off to game stores and handing them out at conventions and everything. So if you do want to get your first taste of Grand Archive actual cards in hand, this demo deck, rather than the starter decks, are now going to be your first chance to do that. So you might want to be checking with your game stores that backed the Kickstarter, or heading down to one of their conventions here. And they have a full list of conventions they're going to be at, starting with May 28th, Collecticon, and then a couple events in July, August, and October are the places during the year when you're going to be able to hop to a convention and find the Weebs of the Shore guys officially there. Unfortunately, we're not seeing them at Gen Con. It looks like they really are focusing on anime conventions this year. For us here at Main Deck, Gen Con is like kind of our big event that we like to go to, but I'm sure that in future years they'll be hitting more and more conventions, especially when they start actually running their major tournaments and everything. They have a first look here at some foil card sleeves that are looking really great, some new playmats. Here is a piece of information about the unlimited version of the starter decks now. So I want to make this really clear that the starter decks that we mentioned that are being delayed are the Kickstarter Dawn of Ashes Prelude starter decks. And there are going to be no changes to those other than they're doubling the amount of Prelude packs that come in those. The change that they're talking about with this bid is actually about the unlimited version of the starter decks. In other words, the starter decks that are going to retail at launch. Because again, all the first edition product and these Prelude starter decks were Kickstarter exclusive. It doesn't mean there's a bunch of Kickstarter exclusive cards or anything. However, what they're changing is they're actually removing the sort of like duplicated unlimited version of the starter deck entirely and replacing it with 3 starter decks, one for each Lorraine, Rye, and Sylvie, the Tamer. And they are pricing these down and selling them individually rather than kind of the bundles that they were doing in the Kickstarter. And they're targeting $10 to $15 for each starter deck, which makes them the exact perfect place for someone who's just like learned how to play the game and wants to just get into it right away to pick up a deck and be able to start building off of that. Again, this change to me is absolutely perfect. This is exactly what we want to see. It's nice to have the 2-player starter decks, especially when, the game is just first launching and you just kind of want to be able to start playing a game right out off the bat. But once the game is on the shelves and people are like playing it at stores and other people come by and go, oh, what's this? A lot of times people don't want to buy a dual deck thing that they have to pay like twice the price on. They just want to buy a deck and then start playing with the people that are at the store with them right there. So this is, I think, a great call, and it's always nice to be able to then, select exactly the deck you want. Maybe Sylvie looks better to you. Maybe, the Warrior Wind style is more your cup of tea, and you can pick the exact one you want then. The biggest part of this update, there's a little bit at the end here about print and play balance changes, which are nice. These print and plays are going to be their final version, but they're still available for people to print off and start playing. But what I am really excited about is the Grand Archive Index, and you guys have to check this out. If you haven't been watching this project, you don't know what Grand Archive is about. The quality that we're seeing on this site is indicative, I think, of the care that this company is really putting into this project. So the Grand Archive Index here is a fully functional card search, card display website, an index, right, of all the cards in the game. And if we go and we click on cards on this, by the way, this is available to anyone right away. Index.gatcg.com is where you can find this. They have every single card from the starter decks and the Dawn of Ashes Prelude now available, which means there's actually more than 40 new cards here that they haven't previewed yet. So this is like a crazy spoiler season dump just kind of happening right now, and I haven't even gotten a chance to really get my head around everything in this. So this includes all the cards from the starter decks, and you'll see here most of them have their final artwork, but a couple of them, they say art revealing soon. So they're not all on there, but you can see all sorts of just gorgeous art for cards that are, some of them are completely new to us here. And this is perfect for people who just want to start looking at the game right now and start theory crafting and like figuring out, you know, how do you start to build a deck that isn't just these like print and play kind of stock decks that they give to us. But I really want to point out a couple of things other than, like, obviously this art is all really cool and really good, but we're seeing some interesting new like mechanics. Some of this is probably like stuff that would be expected, I guess. But it's just nice to see that some of these sort of mechanisms are going to be coming to the game, because so far, again, we've only had these starter decks to base it off of. So I want to start by looking at this card here, Gildas, Chronicle of Asa. This is a unique ally cleric human, and you see it's got a little Kickstarter tag right up here too, showing that this is from those Prelude starter packs. So these cards will be in the first edition booster release as well, but the ones that you get in the Prelude packs have that Kickstarter stamp on them. And of course the unlimited boosters as well. But what's really cool about this is this is a unique ally, and we actually haven't seen, surprisingly, we haven't seen any of these yet. And this unique here means it's like legendary in Magic. You can only control one object with this card's name. So you can only control one Gildas, Chronicle, or Asa. And it looks to me like this card is really worth that sort of unique restriction. A 3-cost ally. It's a 1 attack, 4 defense, but it gets +3 attack as long as the amount of cards in your hand and memory are equal. And we do know that the cleric, we've been told the cleric plays a lot with memory and being able to play cards out of memory, and just all sorts of like mechanics that can be potentially moving things around between your hand and memory. And so this looks like a really cool teaser for that kind of, when we eventually get the cleric deck. Now anyone of course can run this in their deck, but when we eventually get cleric, then hopefully you'll have like lots of little ways to play with that and make sure you can have that buff, because when you pay 3 for a 4 power, 4 defense card that is 4 attack, 4 life. I'm not even using the correct names here. The 4 attack and 4 life ally is for 3 cost is like very strong in this game. So that looks really cool to me. I love, if we go into here, I love seeing all these new fire and wind cards especially, which makes sense because these are going to be launching with the starter decks. So these are going to be perfect for just kind of mixing into your starter decks, which are fire, Rye, and wind Lorraine. But interestingly, a lot of these are actually, there's a lot of fire attacks, fire warrior cards with class bonus. So it looks like the idea is that when you crack open a few of these things, you can maybe start to look at, hey, okay, what if instead of making wind Lorraine, I made fire Lorraine? And it looks like they've really tweaked this Prelude set, which again is just a subset of the cards we're going to get in the full release, to give you some flexibility in trying to start to deck build a little bit around playing each of those heroes, each of those characters in the opposite element that they come in the starter deck. Cards like this, Fiery Momentum, it's an attack, cost 3, has a 2 attack base, class bonus. So if a warrior uses this, so Rye can't get this ability, only Lorraine right now, it gets +1 attack for each fire element card in your graveyard. Now, when it comes to games like this, I'm a huge Timmy. If there's a way to put bigger and bigger and bigger numbers or do things more and more and more times, I usually get really interested. So when I read this card, I thought, okay, so like how big can I make this number exactly? And it really makes me interested to see how I can build a deck with that. And then using cards like Creative Shock here, which is a card we know from the starter decks. I've played this plenty of times. that allows you to draw 2 and then discard a card, so kind of a looting effect. And this also benefits you discarding a fire card, lets you do 2 damage to any unit, including your opponent's champion. So I can see some like cool interactions here where I'm like trying to fill my graveyard with looting type effects to get a lot of fire in here so I can swing with a strong fiery momentum. I like it. I'm really interested in seeing how this plays out. Here's another cool new one, Reckless Researcher, who's a mage ally that if you're a mage, so this doesn't work necessarily in that warrior combo thing, but again, it's just going to be using the graveyard as a resource here. When it enters, you can banish a fire element card from your graveyard to ping something for 2 damage. A lot like Creative Shock, but those two work really nicely together. You can Creative Shock to get the 2 damage, then you can Reckless Researcher to get the 2 damage. So I'm seeing just like all sorts of cool stuff here that I'm just really stoked to see. More stuff here with Floating Memory, which is that mechanic that they decided to push into the starter decks to get gameplay to be a little more fluid, a little more active. Here's a great one. 2 cost, return target ally you control to its owner's hand. This is a fast spell. So this is a way you can respond to damage being directed at your ally by just returning it straight to your hand instead. And then after you've used this, it has Floating Memory, which allows you to banish it from your graveyard in order to pay for a materialized cost for something, including the cost for leveling up and everything like that. And then we are also seeing just some really cool cards. Here we go. This is the one I'm looking for. Combo Strike. We don't have art for this one yet, but this is a really, really nice addition to Lorraine. And also note it's an assassin card as well. That if you're level 2+, you can direct this attack at an opponent's ally, and when it kills them, you get to wake up your champion again to make yet another attack. And that of course plays really nicely once you're level 3+ with some of Lorraine's effects that really want her to be attacking multiple times, or this, for example, this one, Spirit Blade Infusion, costs 2 less to activate if your champion has dealt damage with an attack this turn. So you can easily combo strike into Spirit Blade Infusion once you're level 3 to just be wailing on your opponent and their allies and getting tons of damage off, which is exactly what Lorraine wants to be doing once she gets there. So overall, I mean, there's just so much here to look at. And I could easily fill an hour-long video just looking at the 40+ new cards here. But if you have just been kind of waiting for some new information to drop on Grand Archive, this is the time to hop back in and start looking at things. And when we still have to wait now for actual cards, but there's some theory crafting that can be done, and we're going to see some excitement going into these conventions and everything as people start playing with demo decks. So maybe you still just want to chill in the background and wait, and I totally get that, because the wait can be agonizing when it takes when we're waiting so long for the product to come out. But what I'm seeing here, the big takeaway from this is looking at just the quality of this website, and they have rulings for the cards on all of the cards where it makes sense to have them and everything. For example, Creative Shock, they have a nice little rules note here about how you can respond to it and when it resolves. I'm just really impressed, as I was initially when I found Grand Archive immediately, and it caught my eye and I started getting into everything, that the attention to detail is huge here. These people are putting on a very professional presentation with everything. I think they're doing everything right to make sure the game is a success, and it might be worth your time, if you haven't yet, to go take a look and see what it's all about and get ready for the launch later this year. So that is everything that I wanted to talk to you guys about today. I just wanted to fill people in on what is going on with this update, because Grand Archive is my #1 game this year that I'm most excited to see. There were some other really cool Kickstarters, but I'm not really as into them as this one. This is the one that is really pushing for that competitive side I'm looking for. It has that very professional, just everything that they're doing that I really like. And I really think that the changes that they announced today to the schedule and the changes they're making to their product lineup and everything are going to be huge positives for the game. We just have to deal with the agonizing wait right now. But the important thing is, once that comes out, that first impression on retail is going to be very strong. So I'm really looking forward to it. I hope you guys are too. Please let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of this update? And hey, take a look at the index and leave a comment below with what cards you think are looking the coolest, you're most excited about from there. Do I have any other fellow like Fire fans out there who are looking at this and going, oh, I can make the numbers really big? Because that is what I am so ready to do. In every class, I'm just going to be making the numbers as big as possible. So let me know if you share my excitement for big numbers down below. They are where it's at. And of course, before I go, I have to put out a thank you to our patrons. We have some amazing patrons on Patreon who are supporting us and helping us get this content out to you guys, and helping us continue to improve and grow and everything. So our patrons have really been helping us with some of our other projects, like we're getting our merch store live soon. We've been getting a lot of feedback on our Discord and from our patron-only Discord channel on some of the designs that we have coming out. So stay tuned. Very soon there will be some cool main deck merchandise that you can check out, which hopefully is just stuff that you like and are interested in picking up. And please join us at the Discord, because we have a great community growing there, and I will absolutely be running some Grand Archive events on our Discord once we have this final print and play out. We're going to look at trying to get an event together. That'd be, I think, a ton of fun for people to play in. Just have to see what kind of prizes we can provide to people. But if not, then we're going to be looking at it, of course, when we have real cards and can maybe play webcam games and that kind of stuff with people online, as is the style of the times these days. So again, thank you, patrons. Your names are on the screen here. Thank you, everyone, for watching this. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found some useful information or something just new and interesting. And we will see you guys in the very next video. Till then, have fun gaming.